I can send you after the completions of these particular sessions. Okay, so by this particular one, what we are going to discuss about, that is, you can have a look on this particular area. You can have a look from this particular area. So this is basically the particular concept of us. So in this particular area, what you can actually see, that is the line manager. So the line manager, this particular concept is basically gives us the sense that the HR manager, when it will work with all the employees very directly, that is the concept of line manager. So HR manager can take the role of a line manager. Say for example, we need to take 50 people for our organization, and for choosing these 50 people for our organization, HR managers will directly develop the policy, in which particular policy the organization will take the response that yes, we need to go with that employee. So we need to go with that particular one. I would like to request all of you to be silent, so that because a lot of you have joined onto the lecture, I have not muted you all. So if you become silent, it will be very convenient for me to make you understand about this particular areas. So uh, you can have these ideas from these slides. So I'm muting you all again. So these particular activities of human resource manager, when he will deal with every other individuals, and when that human resource manager will take the very direct decisions for every other employees, it will be called the activities of human resource manager as a line manager. That means whenever the HR managers will take the very direct decisions about the organizations, that we need to take 50 people and we need to take 50 people on that way. So whenever the things will be very specific, at that time the human resource manager's role will be as a line managers. So you can see from this particular area that this is the line managers, I mean human resource manager, and he is dealing directly with person A, person B, and person C. So this is the basic focus of line management. And whenever that particular person, I mean human resource managers, will deal with the particular organizations as an advisory way or advocacy way, at that time it will be called staff management. That means there will be the top level managements, and human resource managements will work as a staff. That means he or she will give some idea to the actual manager in which particular way he should take the other employees within the organization. So you can take this idea from these particular pictorial presentations. That means in that particular second part, the human resource managers is focusing as a staff manager. How he is focusing as a staff manager? Because in this particular area, he is not directly giving the instruction, as we have seen into the previous part, that in that line management activities, the human resource management is actually focusing to give a direct directions to the latter employees. But in that particular parts, he is just suggesting to the line management, and the line management is taking the actual decisions of how to take the recruitment, how to take the selections. I mean, in that particular part, just HRM or human resource manager is going to give some direction to the actual manager. So in these two ways, a particular HR manager can perform his responsibilities. So this is the second part, or this is the actual parts from where we have tried to start our journey. So after giving that sort of idea, now I'm going to the slide. So you can see that the HR manager can perform the role of line manager, and HR manager can perform the role of staff manager. So when he will go to perform the role of line manager, at that particular time, he will take the direct decisions that I should go for that. But whenever he is going to deliver his speech as a staff manager, at that particular time, what he needs to do, he needs to give some advocacy, or he needs to give some suggestions about in which particular principles he should actually follow his uh, task. So these are the types of managements by which HR manager can actually perform his tasks. So we are going to that particular part very well into the next slides. Okay, so this is the basic concept of line management and staff management. Now we are going to discuss about what are the basic responsibilities of a line manager. As you have seen uh, into our pictorial presentation, that line management always takes the actual decisions, always takes the direct decisions, and he always try to commands to his subordinates. Okay, so whenever we will take this concept of line management, we can gauge what should be his responsibilities. So his responsibilities should be placing the right person onto the right job. Why it is his first responsibility? Because it is his first responsibility because he needs to take the direct decision, he needs to take the very clear decisions, and he takes the actual role of HR division. At that particular time, the organization puts all the responsibilities to the HR manager. So HR manager can independently take any sort of decision. So he decides who is the right person for his positions to actually perform those activities. So this is the first responsibilities of line manager and the HR managers as well. So the second responsibilities of a line manager, that is, you can see onto the slides, that starting new employees in the organization. That means uh, as a line manager, HR manager needs to orient the new employees who have come from the very recent times from the particular institution, academic institution. He has just joined within the organization, and it is a responsibility of HR manager as a line manager to orient those new employees for the organization so that they can adjust very rapidly with the organization. And you can see some other responsibilities of the line managers that has already been performed by the HR managers. He needs to train employees, he needs to improve their performance, he needs to interpret firms policies, he needs to control labor costs. So all those activities an HR managers performs in the name of a line manager. So now we are going to our next particular part, uh, that is this particular block diagram or this particular diagram. HR manager's duties, as I have said, that HR manager can take the role of a line manager and HR manager can take the role of a staff manager. When he gives the direct direction, that times he is performing the role of line management. And when he is giving the advocacy, at that time he is performing the role of staff management or staff manager. So apart from these two particular functions, there are another functions of HR manager, that is the coordinative functions. So what do we mean by that particular terms? What is coordinative functions? Coordinative function is basically the integrations of line functions and staff functions. So whenever the HR manager takes some sort of decisions directly, and whenever that particular person takes some advocacy for the top level management, when both these concepts merge together, at that time the HR manager performs the role of coordinative functions. That means in that particular sessions or in that particular section as well, the HR manager tries to give some inspirations to the top level management. The HR management tries to give some sort of direct decisions also whenever the organization demands from the HR management. So both these functions are being done by the HR management. So it is basically nothing but just the combinations of two particular persons, two particular functions as well: line functions, staff functions, line managers, staff manager. So when HR manager performs both these responsibilities, at that time it is called coordinative functions. Okay, so if you have this idea, then I'm going to the next parts. So this is basically the organizational chart. This is basically the organizational hierarchy. So you can see from these slides that HR manager performs his responsibility in every other corners. Whenever we are going to compensation, when we are going to research, when we are going to employment welfare or volunteer or employment relation, at that particular level, HR managers needs to perform. Why? Because HR manager has selected some people for the organizations. So whenever he is going to orient them or whenever he is going to train them, he needs to have proper idea about all those areas so that he can make a brief to all the employees about the organizational actual plan. So HR managers perform the responsibilities in every other corners of the organization. And it is very important to choose the right person for accomplishing the right activities. So this is human resource specialists. That means as an HR manager, you need to have some very basic skills about these other areas. You need to choose the right person. So you will have to be a recruiter. You will have to attract people for your organization as an HR manager. As an HR manager, you will have to ensure equal employment opportunity. As you have asked these questions before I have started these particular sessions at the very inceptions of our sessions. So you have asked these questions. What is EEO? Equal employment opportunity. That means every employee should have equal treatment from the organization so that they can have a belief, so that they can have a positive belief that yes, organization is treating us equally. If we can put the very good input, then they will give us the very good output as well. So it is the responsibility, it should have the expertise of an HR manager that he or she will ensure equal employment opportunity. He needs to ensure job analysis that I have discussed, that he needs to define the responsibilities of that particular person for the vacant positions. He needs to specify the qualifications as well. So the responsibilities and the qualifications, both these things is called job analysis. So an HR manager should have the expertise about job analysis activities. He needs to be very expertise about the compensation, about the rewards, how it should be provided to the employees. He needs to be very specialist about the training, because you know that there are two sorts of training that we will discuss in our chapter number 5, that on the job training and off the job training. So he needs to be very clear about it, how we can provide on the job training and how we can provide off the job training. And he needs to very expertise about the labor relationships, because the organization employees may have some groups, intergroups or intergroups. So an HR manager needs to focus about the corporate interest to the employees. So he needs to have expertise about all those areas. So these are the special areas that he needs to focus on. So after that, we are going to our next slides. That is the question that you have put me into the very last class. That was the first sessions of our first journey. So what are the trends of human resource management? Or you have asked me a particular questions about what are the challenges that are being faced by a HR manager, or we can take it these questions in a simple way, that what are the challenges of an HR manager in the 21st century? So this is the basic focus of our these particular sessions. We are going to discuss it very well because this is very important for our midterm exam. This particular slide is very important for our midterm exam, because in the first chapters we will discuss about these challenges. What are the challenges that are being faced by an HR manager in the 21st century? So you need to be very ready with your pen and papers. Now we'll just try to clarify these particular parts very comprehensively so that you can answer this question if this appears before your exam. So we are going to start these particular sessions. The first challenges that are being faced by an HR manager, that is globalization. Now you can put me a question that how globalization can be a challenge, because we know that globalization is a mixed blessings. For having these ideas, I need to explain what actually globalization is. The very simple concept of globalization is borderless market. So In the 21st century, we are experiencing there is no local products that we can own, or there is no local actual inheritance that we can say that this is our thing. So now the world is getting globalized. That means every people from every parts of the world, they can just demands for our particular product, and we can just supply it uh, onto their demands. So this is the first aspect, that we are experiencing a borderless market. Now the question is how globalization can be a challenge for an HR manager. It's very simple. Globalization is ensuring the borderless market, and as we need to deal with the borderless markets, so people will demand from the any part of the world, and as an HR manager, it is my responsibility to motivate my employees to adjust with that sort of situation, so that they can deal with that sort of demands. So globalization is creating some opportunities for us, that is for sure, but at the same time globalization is creating some challenge for the HR manager as well, because HR manager needs to motivate his employees that yes, we need to communicate with the global demands. So this is the reasons why globalization is getting challenge for the HR manager. Another challenge that we need to have these ideas from our slide, that is the technological trends. As I have said, that because of globalization, what is getting through towards us, that is technology. Technology has made the globalization very compact and very easy to all of us. So because of technology, people can demand from any part of the world, and people can show their desires from any part of the world. And we need to be very updated with the technological part. We need to be very smooth going with the technological part. And if the HR manager fails to cope up with that, then it will be a challenge for that particular person. So if he faces these challenges, and if he overcomes these challenges, obviously it will be an opportunity for that particular person. So this is a challenge for the HR manager, and this is at the same time an opportunity for an HR manager. If he can perform this responsibility well, then it will help him or his organizations to go forward. Okay. Another particular challenge of an HR manager, that is workforce. I mean, this is workforce diversity. So people are coming from the different parts of the world. They are coming from different areas of the world. They have different cultures. They have different preferences. They have different likings. And for that particular person, as an HR manager, he needs to collaborate, or he needs to communicate with all those persons. And whenever the people are coming from USA, their cultures will be different with those particular person, which particular person is coming from Bangladesh. So an HR manager needs to deal with all those peoples who are coming from different cultural backgrounds. So this is a challenge for an HR manager in the 21st century. But again, if he can overcome this challenge, it will be an opportunity for that particular person. And yes, there is another challenge for the HR manager, that is economic challenges. So we can take the example of COVID-19. So what we are experiencing right at this moment, the organization is facing a lot of challenges. So organization is facing a lot of economic challenges. They cannot make their profit. So whenever they are failing to make their profit for the organization, how can they satisfy the demands of the employees? So we can get these ideas that economic challenge is a very important challenge for the 21st century HR manager. So HR manager needs to bring an equilibrium, so that employees will work for the organization, and organizations will also work for the employees. So in that particular time, COVID-19, what an HR manager should perform, an HR manager should try to communicate with the organization that this is a very hard times, and you need to satisfy your employees as much as you can. Because if you cannot retain your best employees, or if you cannot retain your general employees, then your organizations will not sustain. Because as we know, the organization will sustain because of the performance of the employees. So it is the duty of an HR manager to make the organization understand that in that particular crisis moment, we need to give as much assistance as we can for our employees. And he needs to take the responsibility of making the employees understand that we need to work for the organization, because if the organization does not exist, then what will be happen to our fate? মানে আমাদের ভাগ্যে কি ঘটবে? So if the organization understands the employees concerns and the employees understand the organization concerns, then it will have a very good balancing situation. So it is a challenge also for the HR managers to make both the ends clear about the importance of both the ends. And another particular challenges that is being faced by the HR manager, that is the nature of work. The nature of work is getting changed. Once upon a time, people were very fascinated about typewriter, but now the time has been changed, and the people are getting very fascinated with the computer, with the tabs, with the modern technological devices. So he needs to be very updated with that sort of issues, and he needs to be very clear about all these issues. As the trends of the working nature is getting changed, so he needs to be very updated. And another very important challenge that is being faced by the HR manager, that is deregulation. Now the question is, what is deregulation? Deregulation is basically dealing with the privatized world. Privatized world means that the organization and especially the government is giving the chance to the private sectors to be flourished. So in that particular concentrations of our industry, we need to focus on the privatizations of our organization. And for this privatization, new laws are being enacted, new ideas are being getting through. So for that particular areas, we need to focus on the privatizations, and we need to promote the privatizations. And for promoting the privatizations, we need to take the support from every other corners, and we need to take the support from every other parts of the world. So the thing is very similar for globalization, for the technological change. We are facing a lot of challenges as an HR manager, and we need to cope up with these challenges. We need to adjust with these challenges. If we can face these challenges, then it will have an opportunity for our organization. So these are the challenges for the 21st century HR manager. So now this was the basic focus on our second sessions. One is line management and staff management, and how an HR manager works with this particular two concepts. And very latter parts, we have discussed about the challenges of 21st century HR managers. So now we are going to have a 5 minutes break again, and right after this 5 minutes break, we will come to our third sessions, and this will be the last sessions. And in the last sessions, before going to our actual journey, I will again give you the space to ask questions about our this particular part, line management, staff management, and also the challenges of human resource manager in the 21st century. And this will be the last sessions. I will invite all of you in the exact time, just right 5 minutes after this breaks, you will join with us. And till then, I would like to say that is the end of our this journey as well. So till then, I wish your very best of luck.